Hello desktop publishing class, this is Professor Homa. I'm going to give you a quick tutorial on figuring out how to work with images in InDesign. I know sometimes moving these around, resizing them can be a little confusing at first, so I'm going to just show you a couple things, not a whole lot, but just a little bit, just to get you a little more familiar with working with images that are placed into InDesign. First of all, these images, I'm not going to place them, but they're placed in. We'll use file place to bring them in. When they come in, they're actually in a box, and I'm using my selection tool, my arrow, to look at this box right now. It's showing with a blue outline, and this box is also called a frame, because we'll refer to it as a frame. And everything in InDesign comes in a frame. Text comes in a frame. Objects come in a frame. Now if I resize this frame, it'll actually act like a window that'll crop off the graphic that's inside there. I can resize this frame and notice my image isn't moving. My image will move if I grab inside with my selection tool and move this around. And the information that's showing up here in my control palette is showing information about the frame that I'm working on. It's not showing anything about the image. That's why when I resize this, this is always going to show 100%. For people who want to resize a graphic, there's a couple ways to do it. One of the ways to do it is using shortcuts, holding down Shift, Command, Option, grabbing a corner will actually resize a graphic on the fly, but it involves holding down 3 keys. And it's not giving you information about your percentage. If you needed to know how much I just reduced this, I would have to use my white arrow or my direct selection tool, which if you use on corners is going to act like it does in Illustrator and move anchor points. But if you click inside here, click on here, it's going to show a little almost amber colored box. That's the edge, the bounding box of the graphic itself, not the frame. And it's also showing me I just reduced this thing down to 79%. I could increase its percentage. I could drag on the handles, or I can use the percentages here to increase this or put it back. I'll even put it back at 100%. And I'll go back to my selection tool and click off. Now this is being cropped right now. If I wanted this box to be, I could resize the box to make it larger, or I could select the box. I'm going to use something called object fitting, and I'm going to say fit frame to content. If I don't want to resize the content, I'm going to say fit frame to content. That'll resize the box so it fits all the content inside there. If I wanted to resize a box, and I knew I wanted it in a particular place, but I wasn't sure of what the percentage of the graphic would be, I could put the box there as a placeholder, and then also use that object fitting and use fit content to frame. Now there's also fit content to frame proportionally, which you should probably use so that it doesn't stretch the artwork at all. So I'm going to use fit content to frame proportionally, and it fits in there so it's 100% size. How do I know that? If I use my white arrow and click there, it's showing up at, well, it's showing up at 57%, but it's not showing, it's not 100%, this is 57%, because that's how it was scaled down. All right, back to this. Also, one of the things that you may run into is you can actually grab the inner artwork, and if you move it outside of that box, you're going to run into a situation where you're going to say, where's my artwork? And if you click off of this, you're going to think that you have an empty frame here. Other than trying to use this and search around and try to find your artwork, one way to find if this happens is to just use your selection tool, select this box, and go to Object, Fitting, and just do Center Content. And it'll just put it back in the center if it got thrown off. But again, just a couple little things to remember about working with graphics is the entire frame and the graphic moves around with your selection tool. And you can resize the box to actually crop things, which I would not want to crop. A photograph you might want to crop, but not a logo. You can use your direct selection tool to select the graphic image, whether it be a TIFF file or an EPS file inside the frame, and I could see what percentage it's been scaled at. I could also, this is a way I could also see if it was scaled, disproportionately so that it was stretched out. This is one way to check, and it's not. And I could also move this graphic around. I can also scale by holding my Shift key and scaling the inside here. And then also, if I wanted to get the frame to fit snugly around where the edge of the graphic is, I can use this object palette and fitting. Fitting's a good place to kind of control both your frame and your content. So I'm going to fit frame to content. You just have to think a little bit to know which one you're talking about. And now it resizes that frame so it's on my page. Okay, that's just a quick little overview of working with frames and the contents within, and also scaling. And like I said, just one quick review, Shift Command Option, if you drag on a corner, it keeps it proportionate, and it also scales the box or the frame and the graphic at the same time. So sometimes that's a short way of doing that. To double check of how much you did it, click in the middle, it shows that it was scaled there. 75%. I'll click this lock. This obviously wasn't locked, so I'm going to put it both at 75% to keep it in proportion. And then I could lock this to make sure it always stays locked whenever it gets scaled. That protects it from being stretched in either direction. So again, quick overview of working with just basic images in InDesign.